Welcome to Season 2 of the Kick-Ass Business Show, because most business shows suck. I am your host, Pam Gockley, and I look forward for you to see an interview with Connie Pheiff. Connie Pheiff is just really a powerhouse and unstoppable, and you'll get to learn more about that in the interview. So again, the Kick-Ass Business Show is about business owners sharing. If you want to be a guest, please contact us and you'll get all that information at the end. And don't forget to wait till the end of the show, because you'll get all Connie's information. Don't forget to share the show, subscribe to the show, and make sure if you like it, consider being one of my guests. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Out! Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Business Show, because most business shows suck. I'm your host, Pam Gockley, and I am thrilled today to interview and have Connie Pheiff talk about her business today. She's a leader and expert in oh my goodness, I think I need her help. She's a leadership expert. She's a speaker, which I'm having issues with today, an author, and a coach. So, without further ado, Connie, please tell us why your business is kick-ass.
Oh, I don't think we have enough time. I love my business. I love what I do. We're kick-ass because we work with executives, C-suite executives, and when I say that, it's executives that are still sitting in corporate, Fortune 100, Fortune 500. And what is really the sweet spot and what really makes us a kick-ass is because when we are working with those executives, we're working with them and we're creating plan B for them to get out.
Oh,
Yeah, so imagine trying to promote that and sell that into an organization. I'm going to come and tell your people and show them how to get out. But what's really interesting is how that came to be. So I have this leadership program that I've done for a number of years, really successful. And for some reason, a couple of years ago, I don't know how it happened, I went back to my team and said, how did this happen? I had CFOs in the program from Apple, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, and L'Oreal. And all CFOs. So that's why I was like, how did this happen? And we broke it down. We break down into small groups. And in the small groups, I said, well, I'll take the CFOs because then I work with them in between, the program. And it's a year-long program. So they get one-on-one coaching. They get small team coaching. And then, a group coaching interaction. And it was then that they said to me, now these are number guys. They're all guys too. But they're numbers, they're bottom line. And the one said to me, I really love your program. And this is why we send people back year after year from our company to participate. But you're missing one critical component, and that is showing us how to get out like you did. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And I came back with a team and we're thinking about it. And like, okay, so how do we go to a corporate and promote that we're going to show their team how to get out? What I ended up doing is I rolled it into the program. The program has 4 components. We start working on the individual, and then we build it up from there, and how to have difficult conversations, and then how to be a leader, whether an entrepreneurial leader or a corporate leader. So I roll that into the program, and we call it Plan B. So what was really interesting and where that niche came from and what really boosted us to be kick-ass was that I started getting phone calls from the companies themselves and telling me that their people are more productive knowing that they have a Plan B.
wow, that's awesome. So it sounds like you're kind of an innovator too.
I say that I'm an innovator, futurist, and in some terms of that word. Looking forward, I know because when I left Girl Scouts, or I said Girl Scouts left me, I didn't have a Plan B. I my expectation was that I would have been there my entire life. I would have retired out of there. But it's been 11 years now, and they came in and decided that they were going to, realign, and, they were looking at things differently, the economies of scale, and girls had different interests. So I had a 12-hour notice that I was done. And that was a really kick in the ass.
Wow. Yeah, that's probably in the second part why your business isn't kick ass, but
yeah. And, initially I was like, what am I going to do now? But then I finally realized after Girl Scouts actually called me back to coach the new CEO. And yeah, that happened. This happened. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I was like, hell no, I'm not going to do that. And then they had my former assistant, who I love dearly, who was still there with the new CEO, had her call and ask me. And I was like, oh, they're playing dirty now. They're playing dirty now. So I agreed to meet with the new CEO. And this is when I was still living in Pennsylvania, and she was meeting me at this place in the Poconos, and she never shows up.
Oh my goodness.
She never shows up. I'm like, what the heck? Like, you bet me to be here. She never shows up because she was let go that morning.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yes, because she they hired somebody with a PhD. I mean, initially I was told off record that I didn't have a lot of letters after my name, so I didn't qualify anymore. Right. And they wanted somebody with a PhD. Well, she wasn't able to connect with the stakeholders, with our donors, with the members. So she eventually was.
Well, I know you're professional and you won't do it, but I'll do it. Duh.
Yeah. Duh. I mean, I have really good friends with PhDs. I love them to death, but they don't know how to talk to people. They're book smart.
Duh.
Yeah, right? Like, oh my God. So then they called me to coach the interim CEO, and I coached her into retirement because in a previous life I was a financial advisor. So, I knew enough to have a conversation with her to say, go talk to your financial advisor because you could probably retire sooner than you think.
There you go. So
she retired. And then they did bring in another woman who stayed there for 10 years, and she just retired this past December. So it was interesting. And then again, with these programs, and they're saying, like, how you got out. I'm like, I didn't walk out the door. I was booted out.
Right.
That's the last thing that you want. But what I didn't have, again, was that plan B. So then I would joke with other friends. I was going to be a fishmonger, or I was going to be an over-the-road truck driver.
Open a breakfast place in Key West, Florida, right?
Right, exactly. That's why I said, I'll get a job at McDonald's. And I said, but I would still be stressed out, that I would, was giving somebody the right change.
Right, exactly. So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You're talking about kick ass or not kick ass, and
no.
Here's a question. Would we be talking to the same Connie Pheiff today if she would have continued on at the Girl Scouts, or do you think Connie's a little different than today, going through her journey?
Oh, I am so different today than I was at Girl Scouts. So different. I mean, I curse a lot now.
Me too. I knew we were going to get along.
I do. And I go, but you were the Girl Scout leader. I'm like, it's there. What can I tell you? So that is different because I definitely didn't do that there. Just my outlook and, and my, feeling about corporate. Like I said, I had a 12-hour notice, 8:00 at night, as I was still at my office to say, you're done. Come back in the morning to pack up. I go back the next morning to pack up, and my stuff was already packed. My furniture was gone. I had a really nice office furniture that I had donated to us, gone. And so they had to have done it overnight.
Wow.
that happened. So, I mean, so it took me a bit of a time to really recover over that. And of course, I wasn't upset. I wasn't depressed. That's what I told myself.
Sure.
But looking back in hindsight, I really was, because I got sick. And at about that time, I found that I was adopted, so I had that also. My health was really poor for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and I did go back to school. So now I have a lot of letters after my name.
There you go. Now,
Which-
there.
yeah. So there, I did it, and
Yeah.
I got a big bill. So there.
Yeah.
But I thought, doing that, my intention was that I was going to go back and find another job and be a CEO somewhere else. And I did interview, in between being sick. And I mean, I was at a point, I just lost energy for a bit of time. So I was interviewing. I was interviewing from Maine to Miami, and I would always get down to that final candidate and not get the job, not get the position. So I went back to the recruiter and I said, please tell me. And that was before I finished school. I said, please tell me, what is it? And he said the same thing. Again, you don't have, a PhD, all these letters after your name. And I said, but I worked from the ground up. From the School of Hard Knocks, everything I did was successful. We always exceeded goals and so on. So, and he said, that's the only thing I could think of. I said, but they knew that when they got my application.
Yeah. And sometimes it seems like that's just a really easy way for them to eliminate people off the list, the quickest, easiest way.
Right.
And again, corporations don't always make sense in what they do.
They just don't. And so then I thought, all right, so I applied for a chief operating officer, a COO position. And I interview, I meet with the board, and I finally meet with the CEO, and she tells me, she goes, you're overqualified. We already have a CEO. We don't need you here. So I was like, I catch 22. Where do I fit? So I finished my degree within a couple of months, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start my own business.
Yay! You came to the dark side.
I came to the dark side, and I turned around and I looked at what had happened as a gift. I thought, they really gave me a gift, because it gave me some time to really sit back and do some internal counseling and soul searching and say, what do I have that could help other people, really find and achieve their success? What is it? And at that point, I was so low at my self-esteem that I didn't see it yet.
So your kicking the ass made you kick ass, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Got it. You got it. So, now I coach people, I mentor executives, and, they might come up, and I do a lot more on the personal side, not necessarily the business anymore. I did do the business for a long time, but the last couple of years, I've really shifted to working on performance and the person as a leader. And so yeah, they'll tell me like, oh, I have to tell you something, but you're never going to believe it. And I'm like, been there. Like, nothing surprises me, with my background, and then with my career and personal background. I'm like, nothing surprises me, and I believe that that's really where it creates that kick ass for me, because I can communicate with them on various levels. And one thing that really helped me a couple of years ago when I moved to California, as I was packing and getting ready, I twisted my foot and I broke my foot. So I broke 3 bones in my left.
Oh my goodness, jeez.
So I'm a week before I was to drive across country from Pennsylvania to LA, and so it was my left foot, so I could still drive.
Okay, there you go.
And so I could still drive. So as I drove across country, and I'm thinking, you know what? I need to really make this an effective travel plan besides, all the sightseeing. And Mom decided to come with me, and I had my 2 little dogs. I started interviewing women, executive women. and
Oh,
CEO corporations, that are running their own business. I interviewed 50 women.
wow.
All but one had a story of, I've come from the other side of the tracks, or I was abused as a child, physically and sexually. And, and all of this stuff I could relate to. And every single one of those women became a much stronger individual to get to where they are today. The one woman, she was the editor of the New York Times, and she was homeless. She lived on the streets of New York with her sister and parents. The sister ended up dying of HIV, and the parents overdosed. And she still got herself through school to become the editor of the newspaper. And so many of these stories affected me because it was a lot of the same stories from girls that we had at Girl Scouts.
That is very inspirational. So, could we switch gears just a little bit? So, do you have anything that, any reason or anything that makes your business or your industry not kick ass? Can you just do one though? I know I have like 27, but
I go say, yeah, there's always something. One thing that I always struggle with, and I don't know if it's not making us kick ass, but I always struggle with is, how do we stand out? How are we different than somebody else? And I always go back to the quote, from something that Steve Jobs said. It's not to beat your competition, but to be better than your competition. Mm-hmm. So I'm always looking at, how are we better than our competition? For example, we have our Woman Who Dare Council, which recently we refocused at Redesign. I've been running the Global Women's Council for a couple of years, pretty much quietly. I mean, wasn't doing a lot with it. But now that I'm in the C-suite council, and I mean, from my podcast and our television, our listener base, our distribution partners is huge. So working with the C-suite council, we went back and forth, and we did some strategy sessions and because with them, they're lacking the female executive presence.
What?
They are lacking the female. Yes. Like this past week, I was at a program with them in San Jose, an investor summit. I'm going to say 98% of the attendees were men. Mm-hmm. And there were 8 women, executive women there. 5 of them I brought with me.
Wow, that's a totally subject for another show. But
yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And so I wanted to really look at, and again, how can we enhance that program?
Right.
Because right now there's so many women's issues going on out there. And what really prompted me, what really lit me back on, my ass on fire, is when I seen all the women march this past year when Trump got voted into office. The millions of ladies that marched together across around the world. And I was so inspired by that, because as women, we are our own enemy.
I concluded that too.
I mean, we'll knock each other out at the ankle if we could. Yeah. And because we're all fighting for that same, that one spot, that one position that we want. So that's why we are more, at each other that way. And so when I seen all of these women march together, and coming from, my background of working with women all these years,
right,
I thought, why can't we be like this all the time? And, for that moment, I was really proud to see all of these women march together. However,
but
they shot themselves in the foot when they put a vagina on their head.
Yeah, I was wondering how that was going to go.
When I seen that happen, I was like, what are you doing? I was like, what are you doing? No. You just took your power away.
And you just gave it back.
And you handed it right back. I mean, there was such, momentum going, and the march and working together. And when you did that, you just you cut yourself off yourself, and you just degraded that power. And again, like you said, you just gave it back.
I
So when
agree.
that happened, I said, I need to step forward, and this is where we're not being kick-ass.
Right.
Because I wasn't promoting that because I've been so focused on, I got to help, in the corporate. So I have now created that my mission. So when the C-suite, because I made a comment to them at one of the conferences, I said, there were no women in your panel. And I'm not a feminist, and I'm not one to get all bitchy and catty about that. But I just made that brief comment, and that's when Jeff Hazel came back and he said, I know. He goes, well, what can we do to make this different? And I said, well, I have this council of women. Let's take a look at that and see how we can, match the two together. So I changed it to rebrand it, relaunch it from the Global Women's Network, which is kind of vanilla. And so it is now the Women Who Dare Council.
Oh, not the Kick-Ass Women Council, huh?
No, that could have been one, though. That definitely could have been one.
All right.
But the Women Who Dare. And I mean, we put it together basically overnight, literally, because we were going to this program a couple weeks ago, and it has been crazy, insane with people wanting to join, wanting to become part of it.
Awesome.
And we have multi-levels, and the highest level is our Circle 200 level. And that's, the C-suite executives. And then we have a level for the executive on the rise. And then we have a level for the entrepreneurial leaders, the speakers and the authors and the podcasters.
Very cool.
And then we have a nonprofit level as well. I mean, because this is inclusive for everybody. But then each one has different benefits and a variety of how it goes.
Right.
It has just been insane. And that's when I realized, that's why we weren't kick-ass, because we weren't really living our passion and what we do to help others, specifically women.
That is great. And I can't believe it's already time is up, but I want to thank you for sharing with us today. And you don't know how many other business owners that you may have helped today, but I do want to let you do just say a last word of wisdom, something that could help business owners out there.
A last word of wisdom. Now we're talking about entrepreneurial business owners.
Yes.
Okay. Because it could be a little bit different from corporate, but for entrepreneurial business leaders, you're here for a reason. Something got you here, whether it was a loss of job or you made the decision to do this on your own. Really, look at it as a gift, but really take the time to do some soul searching to figure out what it is that how you are helping and who you are helping. And it may change. So I've been doing this 11 years. I went full circle from helping women all the way back to helping women, but I still work with corporate men as well. But really understand your gift and what your strengths are. And when you do, you are going to enjoy doing what you're doing 110%. Even when those days that you're waiting for the checks to come in and somebody's got to pay me. It's not going to be as stressful because you're doing what you love to do.
That is great advice. And I want to thank you again. And don't worry, at the end of the show, all Connie's contact information will be on the end cap. So if you want to get a hold of Connie about anything she talked about, feel free today. Thank you so much, Connie.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bam, bam, bam.